Okay, so today, well, first of all, let me introduce my co-host. This is Baby Girl, my little kitty friend. Hopefully she won't get in the way too much of today's presentation. Okay, so anyway, thinking about what I was going to do today. I hadn't actually planned on doing a podcast, but I was reflecting on how much negativity there is out there in the world and how much gloom and doom and how many prophets of the end are cashing in on their particular vision of apocalypse, and decided that we needed some good news for a change. So today's topic I'm going to title The Father of the Mother of All Prophecies. Some good God news that isn't fake news. Subtitled Bringing Lucifer, Lilith, BORG, Christ, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Rama, Mother Nature, Marx, Tesla, and the Galactic Council to the negotiating table to plan seating for the Cosmic Jubilee. Okay, should be a fun one. Let's see. So where should we start with that? Let's talk about prophecy. Now, if you're at all religious, you know what prophecy is. If you're not religious, you probably don't realize what it is when you see it. What do I mean? Well, prophecy is predicting the future. That's what prophets do. To that extent, everyone is a prophet. Now, what motivates prophets? Well, from the most simple-minded point of view, personal benefit, personal gain, profit. Interesting that those two words are so similar, isn't it? And if you can profit from doom and gloom, well, that's one path to a materialistic goal in the world, isn't it? You could also profit from false positivity, from lollipops and rainbows and fantasy lands. And there are prophets that engage in that. So, tell me, Rob, what is a true prophecy? And what would be the mother of all prophecies, and who would be the father of that prophecy? Okay, well, it all ties back to what I talk to you about all the time, how the multiverse works. There's not just one universe, there are many universes. Each has their own, quote, God or goddess. And each has their own prophets or prophetesses. And they are prophesying what they would like to be the future if the universe was theirs. This is how the game works. So, what would be the mother of all prophecies? Well, I would say that karma is the mother of all prophecies, because karma is the goddess that guides you to the universe that you belong in. This is what she created, what she invented. This is her main claim to fame. I don't know what she likes to call herself these days, because she's incarnating, just like every other soul, into her own system. You gotta eat your own dog food if you want to market it and sell it and make it successful. She's made her dog food successful. And she's now incarnating and doing what she wants to do with each lifetime, wherever she chooses to incarnate. Whatever whatever universe she chooses to inhabit. She has incarnated as Athena, the goddess of wisdom. A pretty good statement of her level of awareness at the time. I think she deserves to be called Karma now with a capital K. Now, who is her father? Well, the father of all. The first creator, God. Okay, so what would be this one prophecy that is like the mother of all prophecies? If the mother is Karma and the father is God, it would be the finishing of Karma, which is what we've been at work developing and perfecting through the human species for as long as anyone remembers there being a human species. In fact, for as long as anyone remembers there being an Earth, or there being a solar system, Sol system, or they remember being a Milky Way, or the precursors to the Milky Way, if there were any. The Big Bang or the precursors to the Big Bang. This is an experiment that's been going on a long time and getting refined. Now, the 7-day creation story is based on some truth. It's also based on some lies. Things weren't made perfect in 7 days. That is a lie. You could look around you and say, yeah, that's a lie. That's one of the main things that turns Christians into atheists or agnostics or into Buddhists or whatever else they decide is going to be their truth now. It's obvious that things aren't perfect, right? So what was going on in this 7th day when God was supposedly resting? He was testing. Karma had become mature enough in her incarnations that God felt like, okay, I'm ready to try this out myself. I'm going to incarnate. I'm going to accept reincarnation amnesia. I am going to subject myself to the indignity that all my children have to face if they choose a human life form, because they're getting the latest version of karma, the most forgetful version, the version that has the least power, gets the most abused and used by more advanced, quote, creatures, and it's kind of the crash test dummy for perfecting this idea of karma. Now this, you want to get down or you want to keep broadcasting with me? She's getting a little bit antsy. I'm going to put her down and see what she does. Maybe she'll need to go out. At any rate, the 7th day is not the end. It's not the completion. It's not an endless cycle either, like some people had come to think it might be after it lasting for so long. Sorry, the cat was playing with my cord. No, the 7th day has a completion point, and we are very, very near that completion point. What is the completion point? That is when Daddy finally gets through the whole process and wakes up completely to who he is. Reincarnation amnesia is not an easy thing to deal with. You don't always get back to the level you were at before. Many, 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 many times God woke up, started a family, had an argument with his wife, killed one of his kids, was kicked out of his tribe, and spent the rest of that incarnation in a cave as a hermit, wondering what he did wrong, what he could do better. God has faced everything that you have ever faced in your entire memory and had to conquer it. That's what it takes to get to a level 12 consciousness, to become a full creator in the new system. That's how you earn godhood. Don't just have it handed to you on a silver platter like the first gods did. And the first gods were much worse than the ones that you hear mentioned in the Bible. The dragons, the Elohim, reptilians, Elohim, all of them. There were plant gods. They were even older, and they're still here. And they have a lot of fun playing games with us through their psychoactive properties and their poisons and their cures, which are not necessarily always cures. That's why one man's wine is another man's whining. Don't work the same on everybody, do they? Have you known anybody who could smoke like a chimney and somehow never have any negative effects? My mom was like that. Have you known somebody who drank all their life and lived a long, healthy, happy life drinking wine or vodka? There are no universal rules. Those that think there are living in a fantasy universe. They're worshiping a different set of gods than everybody else. If you think one thing is going to separate you from heaven or hell, you're heading for a different heaven than other people. And to the extent that you push your beliefs on others, you force it on them, well, you're creating your own hell. Because this is the karmic sin. Tyranny. Forcefully pushing what you believe on others when there's obvious evidence that what you believe is not the whole truth and not universally true like you would like it to be. Okay, so what is this prophecy that's so good? Well, what I'm telling you is this seventh day of creation is almost over. Why? Because God has awakened fully, knows exactly what was going on, why he chose to incarnate, has a really good picture of where the state of karma is now, and is looking at it and saying, yeah, this is exactly what the human race was supposed to prove. I don't need to wake up anymore. I don't need to sleep anymore because this job is done. This experiment is complete. This version of karma is good enough to let out of the test tube. Where's the test tube? Right here on good old planet Earth. Now that's something to celebrate. But that celebration won't be enjoyed until this event that I call the Cosmic Jubilee. What is this event, you asked me, Rob? Okay, this event is when the current incarnation of God comes to the meeting place, the heaven of connection, which is kind of where the gods plan their lives. It's not a heaven that everybody gets to go to. It's not the Christian heaven. It's not the Muslim heaven. It's not the atheist heaven. It's the heaven of the gods, the highest gods, in fact. And only the High Council sits there, the senior creators that are fully awakened to the fact that they have their own creative universe, and who still want to play with other souls in creating the prime universe. That's not all the gods and goddesses. Many of them have chosen to go their own way, and they have their own heavens, and they have their own royal court, or whatever, however they want to organize themselves. That's the way BORG plays the game. The assimilator, the one that wants wants to control everything, the almighty micromanager of his universe. And that's his right as an independent, free-willed soul. What he doesn't have the right to do is impose his will on other souls, other than the zero consciousness toy soldier souls that he creates in his own universe. And then only for as long as he chooses to play with them before he gets tired and looks the other way, and they run off to another universe and are allowed to develop their own consciousness, free of the influence of this programmer. Okay, so what am I talking about when bringing all these gods to the negotiating table? Essentially, we're talking about trying to convince all of the different gods in the multiverse that playing the game of working together is a fun one. And having a universe where souls actually want to come and play with you and want to work with you actively in creation is better than sitting on your spider web in your own little universe, plotting out fantasies of your own way of doing things. Okay? Yeah, and those fantasies include basically anything that violates the laws of physics and chemistry, or reincarnation and karma. Those are the accepted laws in the prime universe, at least in the most important place in the prime universe, this planet right here. And we're about to set a new set of laws that has been thoroughly tested on this planet. And if you can imagine that there are a lot of people that don't like that law, that think that they want to keep doing things the way they were, then you have some inkling of the conflict that's going on that's causing all the pain and angst and suffering in the world. Okay? Folks don't like laws. They don't like their power to be reined in. And the old gods had a lot of power that has been reined in many times. If you read through the stories of the Bible in its original version, an original translation, if you read the Sumerian texts, if you study the Vedas, if you study the folklore traditions of other cultures who didn't write so much down, Nordic mythology, the mythology of the Americas, etc., etc. If you integrate all those together, you will come to understand a story that is unfolding that most humans are not fully aware of. They have little bits and pieces of it. And in fact, those bits and pieces of it are being used to control you. Controlling people through doctoring truth is what cultural Marxism is all about. It's using little bits of real news, spinning them into fake news or biased news to gain control over you. And to some extent, we all do that. Am I trying to gain control over you? I don't know. To some extent, I guess I am, to the extent that I'm trying to convince you that what I'm telling you is the absolute truth, which I absolutely assert it absolutely is. Sue me. I think it's a good bit of cultural Marxism. Okay, so what we're in the process of doing right now is kind of a negotiation of, okay, some of these other entities, spiritual, physical, whatever they are, previous God species, the remnant of God species that are trying to preserve their bloodlines on this planet. And yes, that does include reptilians, the dragon line, and that does include Elohim, the Atlantean line, if you will. Those are the two most prominent strains of humanity that folks are aware of. But in fact, the human genome includes important bits of every other God species that ever existed. There's stuff in our DNA that came from plants. And plants were the first DNA-based God-level species, and they're still here. Mostly working for the benefit of the plan because they know it the best. They remember it the best. That's why they have such a hard time communicating with us, because we can't let the cat out of the bag. I know there's a reason why I included the cat in today's session. I've always wondered why, even though I'm allergic to cats a lot, I've always felt more affinity with cats than dogs. That's because I've been a cat when cats were a God-level species. There is a remnant still that is helping us here that was planted on this planet as part of the re-terraforming, repopulation process to be one of our two best friends. Cats and dogs are very important creatures. Well, so are fish. They have a different audience, but the primary ones that interact with us most on a spiritual level are cats and dogs. I have more affinity with cats because I have been a cat person before. I lived in that culture. Absolutely, I have no doubt about it. I can tell you about it in detail. I lived in that culture before they interacted with dogs and created sex. And this is how sex came into being. The interaction between the cat people and the dog people, who at that time were self-replicating. Their exchanges of DNA were unisexual, if you will. There are many species that still operate that way. Okay, well, this is another topic that I'll get back to another time. Anyway, what I'm telling you is that we're about to finish up this experiment. What does that mean for the average person? It means that you're not going to be reincarnating much longer the way you've been experiencing it, if you have any experience of it. Or, if you don't have any experience of it, you're going to be experiencing something very different than you were expecting when you die. Because there's no longer going to be a need to carry out this charade that was going on, keeping souls in the dark, so that we could conduct this great social experiment that's been going on. And this is another thing that I tell people. They need to understand that this is an experiment in spiritual science, the science of souls. All of creation is about that science, about creating virtual environments that are better for training and sorting souls, letting them find out about themselves, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what their personality is, how they interact with others. How are you going to find that out in an environment where you can do anything? You can think anything, you can make anything happen. That's the world of pure thought, pure consciousness. That's the world of gods. And it's not a world that you're prepared to play in until you have gained a lot of experience, or you could do a lot of damage. Bull in a china shop is a good image for what things were like before this system of reincarnation and karma came about. It was not a happy place. The time of the old gods, when you could throw thunderbolts around, when you could use your third eye to build pyramids or destroy cities, whatever you wanted, those were not happy times. I'm sorry to tell that to you if you are one of the Mother Nature worshippers or Tesla worshippers or have had your leg jerked by the Galactic Council. That's not where it's at. Those were failed experiments. Now, not complete failures. They produced evolutionary steps on the way to doing something better. Creation is evolutionary, not circular. You stupid Buddhist and Hindu idiots. You stupid materialist scientists that think the Big Bang is just an endless cycle of repeating what should be an entropic process. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. Now there's a universe, but it does work that way. A universe that's completely deterministic and is ruled by the laws of physics and chemistry ad infinitum. That's the BORG world. Everything is according to the plan. BORG made everything perfect. Every law was covered. Every condition was automated. Okay, if that's where you want to be, that's where you eventually will be. It's not a very fun place. There's very little creativity in that universe anymore. They're gradually driving out all the more creative souls from the BORG anti-universe, making their idea of perfection. And you're welcome to go play there. Some of you are going to be absolutely slap damn happy to be there, and that will be your Cosmic Jubilee. That will fulfill your prophecy of, oh, this perfect world where everything is at peace, everything is in harmony, and there's love everywhere. Well, it's all the love for BORG, this almighty force that tells you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and makes you happy to do it. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Have you heard that one before? That's a BORG sales pitch if I ever heard one. You don't have to be there. Now, what you're experiencing in this time is, in fact, all of these forces fighting over the prime universe because they don't realize they've already lost. They have been running amok for so long with God asleep, effectively, working on his own karma, that they thought God would never come back. This is where the whole postmodernist idea of God is dead came from. God's not dead. God's not the almighty micromanager of the universe that you may have thought he was. That's BORG. Or one of his wannabes, Lucifer, Satan, Mother Nature. And those are places you can go to. And that's why it's a Cosmic Jubilee. And this is why there are so many conflicting prophecies. Some are coming true, some aren't coming true. Some are coming true in ways that are surprising people. I never thought it worked that way. I thought the chosen people were Israel. Oops! We're all chosen people, folks. Some are more chosen than others because they get what's going on. They get what's really behind this awakening we're having. And they understand that it's an awakening to a vision of perfection, a vision of Godhood that suits us, and a commitment to follow a path that you've chosen. Knowing that it might be a mistake, might end up in a bad place. You might end up in a bad universe, but at least you're committing to something. You're standing for something, and which means you have to stand against something. Now, those that are standing for tyranny, for abuse and oppression of other souls, are headed for some pretty dark universes. If you think your team knows better than anyone else, and if only you wiped out all your opposition and controlled the known universe, or at least your country, or at least your world, or your company, or whatever that thing that you consider to be your universe is, well, you're kind of playing on the dark side, and that's okay. We need people playing on that side. Why? Well, that's how we create hells. That's how we administer gentle education to people going down the dark side. How are you going to know if you have a dark nature if you don't explore it? Where are you going to explore it? We're not going to let you explore it in the prime universe. We did for a long time because that's how we tested the system. We're done with that test. So if that's the kind of game you want to play, next time you go to heaven, you're going to go to a very different heaven. A heaven of a different universe that might end up being like a hell. Or it might be heaven. Maybe you're just going to be perfectly happy serving Satan, serving Lucifer, serving the dark goddess, Hecate, the goddess of death. Knock yourself out. This is what it's all about. You create your own prophecies. And the prophecies you listen to help you create them. That's why we have religions. That's why we have all forms of spirituality. That's why we have all forms of prognosticators with different agendas, different goals, different ideas of what a perfect future would be like, or how to paint the future so that I can take advantage of the darkness. And there's a lot of people in Wall Street, in global politics, that work that way. They want things to be bad because that gives them an opportunity to step in and take over, take power. This is the whole essence, in fact, of communism, of Marxism. This oppressor-oppressed narrative of, oh, well, there's no way to change the system, so we have to destroy the system and then put the new system in place. How many times have you heard people say that? You can't fight the system, in fact. This is not true. There are people fighting the systems all over, and more successfully lately, if you haven't noticed. Whistleblowers coming forward and being brave enough to expose tyranny, wrongdoing, lies, manipulation. It's happening, folks, and that's cause for celebration, and it's going to be accelerating. If you're in one of the universes that is closer to the prime universe, okay? Because what's going on in the prime universe is this experiment, this phase of the experiment is done. Is karma perfect? No. Does everyone play by its rules yet? No. This is why this planet has been interdicted. This is why the old gods don't come here anymore. They send surrogates because they don't want to get infected with karma. They don't want to die. They don't want to have to be reborn with reincarnation amnesia. They're scared shitless of our species, in fact, which is why they've tried so many times to kill us, unsuccessfully, because not all of them play that game. They have their own gods, and their gods know that they are shepherding a less than perfect species. And they lead them in unusual ways, let's say. Just as our species has been led in unusual ways until God came and said, okay, it's time to take off the masks. It's time to stop playing this game. We're ready to move on to the next phase. What is that next phase? It's basically something that has been coming into the minds of people with different emphases, different ideals. Basically, the next phase is taking the species to the multiverse. Now, how do we do that? We can do that in 3D, in physical space and time. We can do that in spiritual space and time. We can do that in God's space and time. The 3 planes of existence that I talked to you about, that are the 12 dimensions of the spirit, the Merkaba. And each of us has a role to play in one of those dimensions. The ultimate goal is to sort souls out so they are in the universes where they belong, where they're happy, where they're dealing with other souls that are resonant with them. Now, when I say resonant, I don't mean like them, exactly like them. Resonances can actually work opposite. In fact, the people that are the most like you are most likely for you to come to hate. If you have exact same goals and desires and wants as somebody else, eventually you will come into conflict. This is why there are so few relationships between famous people are very happy. End in divorce, or end in, Kitty wants to come and be seen again. Okay, I'm not going to stop broadcasting just because you climb up on my setup. I know you want attention, but you're going to have to be online with me. Look at Bill and Hillary. I mean, talk about a classic dysfunctional couple. Why do they stay together? Because I think the main reason is that they're so afraid that if they ever got a divorce, the other one would spill the beans on all their dirt. They've got so many goods on each other that they use that as a lever to keep together and torment each other with. This is a good example of how you create your own hell. And yes, their lives are hell. You can see it in the way that they're aging. What it's doing to them physically and mentally is really sad. That's what they've made. That's their choice. And this is why things are not as bad as you think they are. The folks that are trying to drag everything down are not going to have happy incarnations. They may have children. Their children may have children. Genes are not where it's at. DNA is not you. DNA is a programming tool for creating soul vehicles. A very good programming tool. And it has some of its own memory. There is definitely stuff in DNA that says, I'm human. There is a memory of having past lives associated with that DNA. Those are not necessarily your past lives. And by identifying yourself with your DNA, you're kind of taking on some of the karma of that DNA relationship. And this is where generational karma comes from. And I know a lot of you are facing stuff like that, and you have made that part of your identity. And that's been important because that's been part of testing out this whole system. A very, very important has been that component. This is why these old bloodlines have been preserved. As part of the test, they aren't necessary. They're not going to be the masters of the universe. In fact, those old bloodlines don't even need to exist anymore. There's a lot of energy around them still because there's a lot of low consciousness souls that think they're still important. They aren't, unless you make them important. Their powers are non-existent. They only exist in the mind of the people that worship them. That's why the power of the elite is crumbling now. They cannot sustain their illusions. At least not in this universe. I'm not sure where you're headed. And see, this is the thing you need to understand about this time. As we get closer to this event is basically going to turn loose the multiverse system completely. It will unbind souls from coming back to participate in this experiment. In fact, it's already unbinding them, even within the course of one life, one incarnation. This is why you may have heard of the Mandela effect. This is what it feels like to transition from one universe to another. And it's not completely perfect yet. It's not a seamless system. There's still a sense of, okay, kitty, if you're going to be doing that, you don't want me to talk about that, huh? You have some generational karma you don't want me to get into? Yeah, you're just bored. Okay, I'm going to send you outside. Okay, sorry for that little interruption. Yeah, so many people, almost everybody is actually experiencing Mandela effects. One of the good ones that I think almost everybody that drives has experienced, at least drives on the boring highways of the U.S., is kind of zoning out and then, suddenly coming conscious and thinking, wow, I was completely zoned out and I could have been in an accident. Anything could have happened. And man, am I lucky. That's the Mandela moment. In some universes, you weren't so lucky and you caused an accident, or you participated in an accident, maybe that took your life or took some other lives. But that wasn't happening in this universe. So you winked out for a while. When you woke up in this universe again, it was like, wow, it's like there's a blank there. I was completely zoned out for a while. Now, tell me you don't remember a time where that happened. Those of you who have ever considered committing suicide or murder and changed your mind at the last minute, had an epiphany. It's happened to me many times. That is what is happening there. You don't always make the right decision, but in the prime universe, you do. That's how you stay here. In the universe of creation, in the universe of the divine plan, the universe of God. Actually, it's a co-created universe. I mean, it's not just God's universe. He's got his own, too. This is a donated universe by a volunteer who chose to let their universe be used as this integration ground for all creation, while God was observing. There were three observers, actually, the original Trinity: God, BORG, and Karma. BORG didn't know about karma at that time. He thought it was just him and God having it out, mano a mano, with material creation, with God's volunteer against BORG's volunteer. The divine male, the divine female, although there was no male or female at the time. Just two children, child gods, that leaned more towards daddy's or brother's position. None of them being aware of a big sister behind daddy's back, Karma, learning, watching and learning from the process, and ready to step in, being the tiebreaker. Whenever God and BORG couldn't agree on law, one thought, I think the speed of light should be this. And the other thought, I think the speed of light should be this. Karma would calmly step in and break the tie if she felt it was the right time. And this is how the laws of physics and chemistry came to be. Some of them were driven by BORG's desire to have everything automated, programmed, and others came from God's desire to maintain maximal free will, maximal choice. I don't think this system is ready to lock down just yet. Let's let them discover a few more particles before we say there's no more particles to be found at CERN or Fermilab. Let's let him build a little bit bigger telescope before we let them lock down the secrets of the universe. This is how science really works. This is how scientific discovery works. This is the quantum mechanics of science. It's not a law till there's enough evidence, enough data to make it a law. It's up in the air. And this is how godhood works. And we can all be gods of something. We can be gods of art, we can be gods of science. And to the extent that we're uber interested in whatever we're focused on, we have the ability to set rules, to set laws within our own limited scope of influence, which ultimately, if you become a god, becomes a universe, your own universe where you can have any fantasy play out you want. And there's a lot of gods that like to do that, like they like to play fantasy games forever, and that's fine. Fantasies are useful to the extent that they inspire reality. Without all of the fantastical creations and bad ideas that humanity has come up with, we wouldn't have gotten to this point of having so many really good laws that work well. Even wishy-washy laws of quantum mechanics, where we just can't let them all go through that one slot. We've got to, and we can't let them go through that slot. Let's let them behave like waves and have an interference pattern. And then there's a probability that they will go through one or the other. And those poor little particle souls have a choice still, at least on a small level. We just need to make sure one of them doesn't go Hitler on us and force everybody down the one path and blow up all the experimental data we've gathered about the twin slit experiment. This is how it works, folks. And we're just coming to the conclusion of a very big experiment. Now, it's not perfect. There are still going to be escapes. There will still be evil done by dark souls. But that evil is going to become less and less. Day 8 of creation is going to be all about taking the good news of this latest version to the stars, to the universes that are receptive to it, saying, hey, if you want to come back and play with your fellow gods, you got to play the game this way. Otherwise, you're not going to be welcome in the heaven of connection anymore. You're not going to get to play at the responsible God table. You're going to have to go chill out in your own universe or make your own counter council if you want, and play in a different multiverse. Make your own multiverse. Knock yourself out. But you don't get to play in God's anymore. There's a solution for every soul in this. And it's what they deserve. It's what they merit. And so they have no reason not to celebrate with everybody else. And this is why it's such good news. You're getting what you planned, what you deserved. Maybe not right away, because you're still crash test dummies in this experiment. And you're still getting used and abused by other crash test dummies that are here testing the negative cases. What happens if we let a soul that has a predisposition towards addictive behavior run rampant for too long? How do we rein them in? What would be the best government for such a soul? How many times do we let them incarnate before we send them to another universe? This is what we've been working on here. And as we discover the need for new universes, gods have to man those universes, or woman those universes. And yes, there are sexless universes where folks that think, oh, all of humanity's problems are because of men or because of women. And there are androgynous universes where we don't have those problems anymore, thank God. Hey, that's what you want. There's other ones that have so many sexes that, what's your sex today? Blue. You got a problem with that? Okay, if that's the kind of universe you want to live in, you're going to get there. For a while, you might get tired of it. That's why we have reincarnation. It's all good if you look at it from a high enough level. And if you're depressed or unhappy or suicidal, ready to go kill somebody, ready to go join an army, ready to go march on Washington, or go to your city center and throw Molotov cocktails because you don't like what's going on, Black Lives Matter. No, they don't. In the grand scheme of things, no lives really matter because you're always going to get another chance. Now, they matter to the extent that you are committing tyranny, a karmic sin. That's why murder is not a good idea. Nobody asked you to murder them. Well, if they did, then it's not a karmic sin. If somebody doesn't want to live anymore, and they say, will somebody please help me do this humanely and painlessly? They're not committing a sin. As long as they're open and honest about, there's a lot of other options here. It's the same thing that applies with abortion, only the poor fetus can't speak for themselves, can they? That's why you have to make some decisions for them. You have to think about it from a karmic standpoint. And that has to do with what souls are involved. This lump of protoplasm, until the brain is fully developed, doesn't generally attract a soul. It's left open, so those little fetuses are available for choice. Somebody's up there in the Christian heaven wondering, well, what am I going to do with my next life? Well, you know, there's a family down there that's having a child, and I think you'd be a good fit for them. They've got some problems, but, you know, they're ones that you've kind of seen the other side of before, and maybe you'll be able to help them through those problems. How'd you like to take that? Okay, I'll do it. And that protoplasm has a higher level soul instead of the zero consciousness soul that they might have been automatically assigned if nobody volunteered. And this is how that works. And if you kill a zero level consciousness soul, you're effectively doing them a favor. Why? Because the way it works, they don't have to play that zero level game anymore. After playing the game of being a programmed automaton in somebody's universe, you get a choice. Do you want to keep playing that game? Do you want to go replace another soul and operate on the program of the universe that they were just winked out of? Or do you want to go have the full choice process, choose your heaven, choose your incarnation, and start learning on your own without a lot of direction? Some souls will say, no, I want to keep learning. I'm going to keep observing. I'm going to keep coming back as a materialist scientist, doing my experiment to see when I want to believe in God and what kind of God I want to believe in, as I start believing in myself as my own God, which is kind of the strange place that atheists find themselves in. Fine. Atheist heaven gets more fun with time. It starts out as, what happened? I have this vague memory of having been here before. But I'm not just having a dream. A bit of undigested beef. Okay. That's kind of the atheist approach to spiritual experience. And that's fine. You don't have to accept it. You can live again and again and again and again in the physical realm and become the most accomplished materialist scientist ever. There are some fields of science where that is an asset. There are others where you're going to keep beating your head against the hard problem of consciousness. I know I can solve it if I just have enough grad students and a big enough grant from big enough government. Knock yourself out. It's all good. Anyway, the overarching message here is that if you don't like it, don't stay. The process works. It's already working. In fact, it's just now been rubber stamped and approved by the head honcho, who has been testing it for a long time, and it's been perfected for a long time. It just took a while to wake up since the last time the big guy woke up and said, well, it's close, but it's not perfect. Well, you can blame God for that. God's not that much of a perfectionist, though. And his last full awakening, the real last Messiah, the real Jesus, was not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. 2,000 years is not a long time, thereabouts, plus or minus. And before that, his last visit was as the Taurus, the Minotaur, that horrible, awful monster that was half human and half bull. Actually, he was a centaur who was not half horse. Centaur means 10 bull, not 10 horse. You ever wondered why centaur isn't called a centipus? Hippus is the word for horse. That centaur's name was Chiron. You know that symbol that they tell you that was the symbol that Constantine saw when he miraculously became the sole emperor of the Roman Empire and the champion of institutionalized Christianity? Was not a cross, it was a Chi-Rho, which is a monogram, a Greek monogram, which was in use long before 0 AD, long before that Christ, that Messiah. It was a previous Messiah's emblem, which was pretty well hidden. Only a very select cult of Egypt, the cult of Apis, the god Serapis, Sir Apis, rather a joke god, I think, of the sacred bull. This is why the library at Alexandria and the Serapeum were destroyed. If you watch the movie Agora, pretty interesting movie, doesn't tell the full truth. It's a bit of cultural Marxist fluff that makes this one female philosopher the hero, who, oh, I know how the planets really work. Silly Hollywood bullshit covering up some truths there. This cult of Serapis, Sir Apis, was what was left of the worship of the Chiron, who was the messenger that got humanity's latest version going back on the right track again, after being misled by a lot of false prophets of that time. This is what happens when the Messiah comes. If things aren't quite perfect enough, you do a little bit of a reset. As little as possible, you try to stop all the resets that others are trying to do. The big destructions, the cataclysmic events, the big floods, the extinctions, that's not what God was doing. That's what God's enemies were doing. The opposition, who didn't like the plan, who thought, it's never going to work, or who thought, well, it's already perfect. I like it because my species is in command right now. Why would I want to change anything? Just go back to sleep, God, and dream your dreams and let us finish it from here. This is what the seventh day of creation has been like. And it's been a bitch for a lot of people. That's why they say karma's a bitch. Well, those who don't like karma would think that about the great goddess, wouldn't they? Hell, the Hindus don't even recognize the fact that karma is the great goddess and not Lakshmi or what are some of the other goddesses they were? Kali, Durga. There's some dark goddesses there. Anyway, I think I've made my point, and we're on close to an hour, which is good since I call this the Omnist Hour. I hope that has given you some hope, some avenues for investigating hope, for finding hope that you never knew existed in your life. A hope that's not planted there by some Pied Piper, fairy tale, lollipop slinger of cultural Marxism. which works both ways. If you think that false negativity is bad, false positivity is even worse. This is delusion. Delusions and fantasies have their purpose. They make you feel better. Who am I to tell you not to cling to that? But if they make you feel bad, if they make you feel cognitive dissonance, if they make you feel something is not right and I can't quite explain it, and my guru who's telling me just think positive thoughts, it's all going to be perfect. Think love, we're all one. Huh? You just keep meditating on that and everything's going to be perfect. Okay, if that's making you feel cognitive dissonance, then it's time to disconnect from that illusion, that delusion. That's not where you belong. If it's feeding your Lilith or Lucifer, hey, go for it. That's the universe you belong in. Who am I to say otherwise? Anyway, I hope you found this useful. Like, share, subscribe, comment, get involved. I wouldn't be averse to a donation or two. In my present state of poverty here in Indonesia, I'm retired, living on Social Security for as long as that happens to last, or isn't taken away from me by one of my exes. Yeah, life is fun, and I have just as much stake here as anybody else. This is where I choose to spend this time. This is what I choose to do with it. This podcast, my books, my activism on Facebook or other places, that's me. That's my choice. That's my karma. You don't like it? Come kill me. Make my life miserable. That's your choice. Whoever you are, wherever you are, this is a karmic choice. If I'm telling you the truth, it's going to be a pretty dark karmic choice, because I happen to believe that I am the great prophet that was foretold. Maybe not the Jesus you thought you were going to get, and that's fine. There will be other prophets, because my prophecy is that all of us are prophets. That was the real story of the Messiah, of Jesus, that we could all grow to be like the Father, not to be the Father, not that we were a part of the Father, a part of the Cosmic One. No, that we could each be like the Father, be a God in our own right, with our own specialty, our own strengths and weaknesses, and ultimately our own universe to explore those in. When we chose to disconnect from other souls who had different ideas of perfection. We are not all connected. This is a lie. A lie. Capital L, capital I, capital E. We are not all one. This is a lie. You can be if you want to. If you want to join a collective, if you want to go to the BORG universe and have the perfect internet where everybody's connected 24/7 and we're always telling you exactly what to do and exactly what's going to make you happy. This is the BORG universe. If that's what you want, that's what you're going to get. And don't complain to me if you listen to this broadcast and that's where you end up. Because I'm telling you, with all that I tell you, through all of the podcasts I've done, through all the writings I've done, etc., how to avoid that. If that's not what you wanted, you had every chance in the world to change the road you were on. So don't complain. All right. Happy karma, everyone. We'll see you next time.